many global challenges arising, and it's likely that the challenges will remain with us, and new challenges will come as we are moving into a period of global turbulence. It's a unique opportunity for spiritual awakening. The motivation for awakening, for going deeper, grows for human beings as the challenges grow. When humans are not being challenged, then the motivation to evolve is not there. It's lacking because you're relatively comfortable in your little comfort zone. But when you're taken out of your comfort zone, when things get disrupted, a huge amount of uncertainty comes into your life, loss comes into your life, or the possibility of loss, and that's often the same thing for people, because the possibility of loss is a projected future, and you suffer just as much as if you were already in that situation, which may never happen. But all these things potentially become the motivating force for deep, profound inner change, for a shift in consciousness, for a step forward in the evolution of your consciousness, which is the consciousness of humanity. So we need to rise up to the challenge of our present time, because if we don't, or if you don't, then it will affect you in a very unpleasant way. You suffer more and more. Many people are in a state of fear, for example, connected to the virus. And so there's a disruption that occurs on the outside, and there's also a disruption that occurs in human consciousness. The most important realization is to become aware of the fact that the one thing that determines how you experience your life or your reality determines how you respond or react to events and situations and circumstances. The most primordial fact is not what happens around you. The most important fact or factor is the state of consciousness with which you meet the circumstances of your life, the situation of your life. If people live unconsciously, they're not aware of this, it's very easy to become a victim of your circumstances. What does that mean? Their inner state of consciousness is completely determined by the external world, by other people, both their personal situation and the collective situation in the world. So they're at the mercy of circumstances, even on the smallest level, at the mercy of another human being. You meet another human being who is angry. If you are not sufficiently present, this human being who is angry will trigger the same emotion in you. And so you are at the mercy of somebody else's state. And then you have whatever you absorb through the media these days, the mainstream media, social media. Mainstream media, for example, generates an enormous amount of emotion. It's there because emotion sells. It sells. People tune in. You absorb all that collective energy field. You can't see it. It's underneath the surface of things. And you're then taken over by a mental, emotional energy field without knowing it. You think that's you. You're identified with this collective energy field. You've been taken over by what could be described as a virus, a mental emotional virus. And you find yourself in a state of either fear or a state of anger or anxiety. When you identify with that state of anger or anxiety or fear, you become it, so to speak, or it becomes you. And spiritually speaking, we call that unconscious living. To be unconscious is to completely identify with a mental emotional energy field. Identify means you seek yourself in it. It takes you over. You don't know yourself except through that. Your consciousness is completely identified with that energy. And that's a terrible state to be in. Now, a state of quite normal. It's very important then when this becomes more and more unpleasant, fear grows, anger grows, then it's easier for humans to suddenly become aware of what's happening to them. And that is the motivating force that helps people to step out of the identification with the collective streams of emotional mental streams. On the physical level, we have the virus that we all know about, and the equivalent of that on the mental level is a virus of destructive, negative thought forms and emotions that people get taken over by. And that makes life very unpleasant. It can also lead to an intensification of external problems. When more and more people are being taken over by negative energy fields without knowing it, then they create in the external, they create whatever corresponds to their inner state of consciousness. So this is a time, a very critical time. The most critical element of it, as I see it, is not in the external. Yes, there are external problems, but more fundamentally, it is a problem of human consciousness. And it can only be tackled there. Many people they have good intentions. They want to create a better world, and that is wonderful. But if you neglect the causal realm, which is your consciousness, then whatever you do on the outer, you might be very angry, and out of your anger, you want to create a better world. That's dangerous. It's understandable, but it's dangerous. And creates, in Eastern terms, would say creates more karma, more suffering. So the important thing for us is not to be taken over by the collective virus that's floating around and that's everywhere in the media and so on. So be very vigilant.